area, so maybe it was overlooked, but it seems investigators would try to find those articles of clothing.
Or find one of them, anyway.
Or that searchers who are combing the area would find something, right? 6 experts overall were asked to review the photos and the autopsy report. All 6 concluded evidence was overlooked and hypothermia was not the cause of death. Patric's body had dirt in his nose and cuts in his gums, all cited by experts as though his head had been pushed down into the ground. One of the medical examiners, I believe she was maybe the assistant, her name was Rosemary Swain, in the initial autopsy, had noted, it's called, I know I'm butchering this, and we probably got some medical folks out there who are going to be like, what the fuck is she talking about? But petechia? It's basically small spots on the skin that suggest broken blood vessels, which is an indication that Patric may have been asphyxiated.
Right. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't say the word either.
Yeah, I know. I'm no medical person, so.
Right, but that's common in people that are asphyxiated.
Yes.
Compared to, now would that happen if you're strangled? Or is it, I think it's different. It's
probably a different kind of marking or no, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it is quite different.
It might be visually different.
Right. With
the blood vessels and how they pop or capillaries bursting or bigger vessels. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm no medical person, but I would imagine it's probably a little different trauma.
Yeah. Specific to that.
The third thing we need to address is a private investigator named Terrence O'Connell was hired by the family to look into the case. And that's how we got some of these expert opinions, because he's on the case, he's sending out these photos, these reports. He's a pretty thorough guy. He discovered some startling evidence, including a witness who told Massachusetts and New Hampshire police that before the weekend trip, an unnamed witness had told 3 people, including a teacher in Bourne, Massachusetts, where they lived, that Patric was not coming back from his family's trip to New Hampshire.
Really?
A witness overheard the talk of this boy's not coming home.
Well, that's something you'd remember.
In an interview, O'Connell said there were specific details about the scene that only a killer or someone who knew about the killing would know. O'Connell believes a juvenile and 2 adults conspired to kill Patric and that he was suffocated.
Wow.
O'Connell says a number of factors point to foul play, including events leading up to Patric's disappearance. So we've got a lot of factors coming into play here that are going to paint this picture that this is potentially not an accidental death.
How?
So I thought I would give you guys kind of the basics, and then we would break it down into these like sections, like first, second, third, because I wanted to kind of give you guys the bulk of this information.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean...
So I don't know if I'm doing that in a confusing manner. I thought it might work a little bit better to break this stuff down.
No, I think you're doing a fine job on that. But how in the hell would they think it's accidental? That's what I don't get here, because, I mean, none of this sounds like where a kid wanders off, even if they're gallivanting, trying to be an adventurer. Kids do that. You know, I'm going to go up here. Maybe they're earlier in the day, they wanted to go, but their parents said, you're not going to go, or you can't, or we're not doing it right now. Well, screw that. I'm going to go by myself then. Kids do stuff like that. But we're talking a fairly extreme trail, 2.5 miles up a rough trail. That's a good haul right there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably going to take even an experienced hiker probably a good 3-4 hours.
Yeah, when you're literally climbing with your hands and feet and different parts of it and pulling up. I mean, that's a rough trail. That sounds like it'd eat my big ass up. But so thickly wooded. It's cold. I mean, and even if the child wandered off, perhaps, the path and got into the woods and got turned around. Which can happen easily. It
just seems like even a child at 10 would kind of know that, like, I didn't I didn't come down this big hill.
I'll go down.
I don't need to climb up this mountain.
I need to stop going up. I need to turn around and go back down.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. We have kids. I just can't imagine that our children would be like, I'm going to climb up here.
Oh, they're not going to climb up anywhere.
Well, we know our kids are just going to sit down where they are and wait for
in their
someone
bedroom.
to find them.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd be lucky if we got them out of the house. I get that. Let's move on to the fourth part of this.
Oh my God.
Inconsistencies in stories. A major theory has surfaced that Gabe Fritz, that's the 12-year-old stepbrother, was involved. The 12-year-old was one of the last persons to see Patric alive. Federal investigation records obtained by a newspaper show that their case and investigation centered around this boy. So even the FBI would be brought in to take a look at this.
Yeah.
And they think this boy, there's
somehow involved.
There's something up with him. He gave conflicting stories about where Patric entered the woods. So he's saying, we were kind of running back from the playground, and Patric just sort of turns around and takes off into the woods. It's kind of like his story.
Right.
Then he later tells investigators that he, at some point during the day, got mad at Patric, was annoyed with him, pushed him to the ground, and sat on his back. Now, at first, he doesn't tell investigators this piece of information. He waits until on down the line when he's interviewed again.
Which he's a kid. He's 12. I mean, that's still more kid than grown. But yeah, I mean, that seems like something maybe he would mention.
He then tells investigators that he was upset because Stephen McCarthy, his stepfather, had put him in charge that day. Stephen McCarthy says he did not put Gabe in charge and had expressed to all three boys, like, don't go past the river, don't leave the playground area.
Yeah.
When you're finished playing, you're going to come right back to the condo. Stepdad's saying, no, I did not tell this boy he's in charge. I mean, and it could be that he's the oldest of the three, so he naturally feels like he's the responsible party.
Right.
Who knows?
And it could be the stepdad didn't want to admit that he did tell him he was damn in charge, and that they were kind of maybe off a little further than they should have been. I'm speculating, but that could be possible as well.
Initially, Gabe told investigators he didn't have any kind of altercation with Patric, and then, of course, later he recanted. Now, Gabe passed a polygraph exam, but his mother, Max, her polygraph was inconclusive.
Max is an interesting nickname for a woman.
Which we know that those lie detector tests are kind of junk.
They are. I mean, they have merit to a degree in an investigation. I think they can sometimes, they a lot of times clear people more than they incriminate people. But yeah, it's basically junk science. But yeah, it can help a little bit.
On the day Patric went missing, Gabe told investigators he's going to be hard to find.
That's weird.
When a state trooper named Russell Hubbard asked Gabe, why would you make that kind of statement unless you know where Patric is? The boy says, oh, well, I just mean because he's small.
Yeah.
The trooper, he's a little startled by this remark. He finds it odd. He writes up a report. He suggests in his report that they bring in a specialist to interview children because he was skeptical about Gabe's statements.
Yeah, forensic interviewer.
It's another part of the story that's very strange. Troopers had brought in canines in hopes of catching a scent of the little boy.
Right.
Well, I guess they didn't have any items around, which I thought was very odd.
Of the boys that would have a scent on it?
Right. Because apparently the stepmother, Max, had washed all of his clothes.
Oh.
Like immediately after he disappeared.
Yeah.
She flies in and does all the laundry.
Yeah, because I'm going to go do chores now. My damn kid's missing.
They call a family friend, Tracy Langley, and asked her to drive up a blanket that had belonged to Patric. But Max had washed it days before he went missing and placed it in a plastic bag. Basically, they bring this blanket up that's in a plastic bag that's just been washed days before.
It's almost like someone doesn't want you to have something with this sin on it. That's strange.
Here's the fifth part of the story that's very strange. Other witnesses have come forward and said the home life for Patric was not ideal. His biological mother is Dee Murray. She didn't have full custody, but she saw him on the weekends. She says that Patric never wanted to return to his dad's house after weekend visits. Sunday would roll around, and it was time for Patric to go home, to his dad's.
Right.
He dreaded it. He didn't want to go. He would beg, please let me stay here with you. Didn't want to go home. 10-year-old Patric had told his mother just, weeks before he had gone missing that during a game of Truth or Dare, the stepbrother Gabe, the 12-year-old, the older boy, had made a remark that could be interpreted as a sexual advance.
Oh.
So kids play Truth or Dare. Our kids have played Truth or Dare in our house.
They better not be playing that damn Truth or Dare.
They play this game. This is like a normal thing for kids to do, right? But this is odd because this boy is making this sexual advance about oral sex. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it was probably something like, I want you to do this to me.
I dare you to blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Oh.
That's what it sounds like just from what I was reading.
Yeah.
Different reports.
Yeah.
Well, Dee, as a mother, obviously very upset. Her first reaction is to call Stephen, which is her baby daddy, and get to the bottom of it. He wasn't really taking the claim very seriously, so she threatened to file a police report. I mean, she was like, if you do not do something about this, figure this out, punish this boy, figure out what the hell's going on, I'm going to the cops.
Now, could you, I understand custody sucks, but and I don't know the full extent of their situation, obviously, but just knowing that, have that seed planted in your damn head, and your son, and sometimes kids are reluctant to go back just because of simply parenting styles are different. This parent's a little more fun. There might be a little more strict, things like that. But time, weekend after weekend, every weekend, so it's happening 4 times a month, never wants to go back. Literally dreading it. And then have that damn thing planted in your head, and then he's, your baby daddy ex not taking it serious? Could you imagine? That'd be pure torture for a parent.
Oh, absolutely. Margaret, or Max, would later dispute this claim, saying it was simply like teen bravado and they were playing and basically like boys will be boys.
Nah, yeah, I hate that statement for so many reasons.
A friend of the family said the situation added strain between Patric and his stepfamily. It seems it was already a bitter situation with this new stepfamily. He feels kind of like the oddball out because his new stepmother has 2 kids.
Yeah.
It's like 2 on 1.
Right.
I mean, that's
and they're all boys.
That has to feel like you're kind of being ganged up on, even if you're not. Well, like in your kid brain.
Right. I'm sure. And unless dad really has your back, but it doesn't sound like maybe dad doesn't.
But this kind of explosive news made it worse for the boy. A co-worker of Margaret and Stephen, apparently Margaret and Stephen co-own a store with another gentleman. And that guy's wife, there's the 4 of them kind of running this business together. The wife says that Margaret insisted Patric call her mommy, but he resisted. I mean, he was like, I've got a mom.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just weird. I feel like anytime you're trying to force a kid to call you something, you just can't do that. You
wait for them to come. You don't ever try to replace the parent.
Well, right.
But if they, at some point, the parent is absent or something, and the kid comes to you, you let them come to you and say, I want to call you this. You don't ever try to make them. That's weird.
But this was seemingly kind of forced upon Patric. And it was also stated by several witnesses that Max demanded Patric recant his story about her son, Gabe. She was very upset about this whole situation. And it seems like she took it out on Patric.
So, yeah, it's, I feel so bad for this little 10-year-old boy.
Margaret even punished Patrick by taking away his blanket and nightlight.